You are in for an interesting ride.
Hello and welcome to another ETN Files interview. And this one is with Hilary Porter, who runs BEAMS, that's a British Earth and Aerial Mysteries Society, along with her partner, also on the Eclectic album, Ken Parsons. This interview was recorded in 2020. It is something of a supplementary interview because I can't believe it's 2013 was when I first interviewed Hilary. So we will hear one or two new interesting updates. So we welcome Hilary Porter. I hope you enjoy it. Hello and welcome back. This is the lovely Hilary Porter, partner with the lovely Kenneth John Parsons, and she is also a member of BEAMS, which is the British Earth Aerial Mystery Society, and she has for many years been supporting experiencers, abductees, contactees, etc., with her own knowledge, which is extensive over many years as a contactee herself. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to do a catch-up interview and a review because Hills has got a book out. She's an artist, but she's also had some very, very interesting life experiences. Hills, I don't know whether you'd like to start with a family connection because we in Farnborough are very near a place called Kinetic, which was also called
ERA to begin with.
And what does that stand for again?
Defence Evaluation Research Agency.
This establishment seems to have a huge interest in ETs, and even the road heading up to the front of it, over which there is a 16-foot spaceship, looks like a little alien grey. You had a family member who was quite a big noise in that some years ago.
Assistant director.
Assistant director. One of the stories that we were just discussing, and you called him the Running Man, which you did an illustration of, which is an experience that your uncle and aunt had.
They did.
Near the area, and it was a very peculiar thing. So can you just run us by the story?
It's a Red Road in Lightwater. It's only over the back from where we live, and they were coming home from a music appreciation that evening. It was a Sunday night late, and they were coming up the Red Road Lightwater, as per normal. Suddenly something like a zombie appeared out of the hedgerow, the trees, and that's all part of Surrey Heath, but then it's all wild and everything. Anyway, this thing comes flying out and it starts running alongside of my aunt and uncle's car, which was a little red sunbeam. It's a humanoid, but it had no facial expression. It was rather grey-faced. The hair was flying out the back, grey, sort of.
Was it dressed?
I had like a all-in-one suit, something tight fitting.
Did she immediately think that it was something other than human? Or
I think they did because they were already going about 30 odd miles an hour and this thing was running alongside the car quite happily at that sort of speed. So I thought, well, flipping heck, what have we got here? And my uncle calmly said to my aunt, "Is your door locked, darling?" And she said yes. "Good," she said. "Don't worry." He said.
So did he put his foot down?
Yeah, he did. And he started to go. It was running alongside at 40 miles an hour.
And this thing was still trying the door.
His door. See, being a pilot, being one of the best aviators in the whole country, in fact, he kept very, very calm. So he kept saying to my aunt, just stay calm, just stay calm. Then it left his side of the car and it went round to her side. Now she's really getting in a state. He said, "It'll be okay." The thing carried on running to nearly 50 miles an hour. The road as this was in those days, this was dangerous. There'd been many, many accidents. About 1980.
Oh, so not so many years ago, really.
Not that far.
And where did this thing seem to come from?
Out of Surrey Heath. There are trees and shrubland and everything. It's a heathland, and it runs all the way across the area. And then suddenly it dropped back, disappeared back into the undergrowth again, and that was the last they saw of it.
So how long did it pace them for?
Well, I should think about that kind of speed, at least half a mile or more. Must be. The next day, it was barely 9 o'clock and I'd barely seen Sally up to school on her school bus when the phone rang, and it was my aunt. She said, "I've had a terrible night, Hill, I've had a terrible night." I said, "Oh, Renee, what's the matter?" Because she preferred me to call her just Renee, because even though she's my aunt. I said, what on earth's the matter? She said, "Just explain what had happened the night before." She said, "Oh, I'm so scared." She said, "It was awful. Freddie was really good," she said, "but then he's more used to it than I am."
There's quite a lot of military presence around this neck of the woods.
Yes,
We've got
there is.
Aldershot, haven't we?
Yes.
And Deep Cut.
Deep Cut. There's a lot more gone on there than meets the eye. It's aviation and home of the British Army, so you can't get more.
No, and then we've got kinetic as well.
Yes, and this now, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a hub.
And Hills, can I just ask you, as we're filming here, that I'm looking out through your window into your garden there, is this the room and the window through which the hooded being showed itself? So is that this window here?
Yes, absolutely. It's a back in the... This was 82. November, raining cats and dogs, dark, wet.
So there's that being at the window.
Yeah,
so they're obviously interested in Sally then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes, definitely, because this was a big important story at the time.
Yeah.
That is her, Gray coming round and taking her.
Oh right.
Yeah, she's in her red pyjamas, you see. I can do nothing whatsoever about it. I cannot move, all I can move is my eyes. And I'm desperate to try and stop them doing this, and I can't do anything. It's so hard for a mother.
There's no time when this is not happening, is it? I mean, so 40s, 30s. Although, and what about your mum? It sounds to me like she would have had some experiences.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've just woken Hilary up again. Yeah, taken over their living room with my light. I'm just drawing out of Hilary. Although we've talked about this before, I want to hear this story again. It is the most astonishing story when she worked at Marconi, a defence contractor, some years back. Elliott Automation was the company that was bought out by Marconi, and Hilary worked there from 1968 to 1974. I'm quite interested in hearing about your work life now.
Yeah.
Perhaps you can give us a snapshot of what you ended up doing, but just so people have an idea, and also the company you worked for is not without its mysteries in some way.
Yes.
So.
Yes, I worked for Marconi 1968 to 1974. I did have a little break when I had Sally. Nevertheless, I was an Electronic Engineer Draftswoman, and I could sort of more or less go all around the company.
What was the sort of work that you were tasked with doing?
I'm not allowed to say. It was space and defence.
Okay.
So
that gives us a very good idea of the kind of things.
Well, yes. Use one's imagination. In the time between 72 and 73, Marconi actually took over. It was Elliott Automation at the time. So, and it was a really happy place to work. Now we were doing everything in duplicate. Those days you just signed in and got on with your job. Now you had to clock in. Everyone had to...
Hilary, take us back to the time.
Well, we're in 1974, early April. April the 3rd to begin with, and I'm washing up and looking out of my kitchen window, and I see two big white orbs flying in unison down the M3, and suddenly one breaks off into Farnborough, the other one carries on eastward. So by the time I finished washing up, I decided I'd put that in my logbook because it could be significant. Then the next day, not thinking anything, I got onto the firm's bus, stay at Marconi, Space and Defence, at Frimley, Camberley, Surrey. When we arrived, there were no security guards whatsoever.
And that was unusual, I take it.
Very, very unusual, because it was a high security place. Really high security, all the things that we did. The gates were wide open. Anyone could have come in. I knew something had happened, I really did. We had the security house just over the way. There was a big black limo outside. The security wasn't there at all. No, there was nothing there. Not that you could see, there's nobody there. I thought, this is well weird. And I thought, well, that's interesting that it's not 8:30 yet. I've got a big limo sitting there. Something's happened. I went over the car park, went through the old house. If you go down the corridor and turn right, and down some steps, you're into the drawing office. As I went in the door, suddenly something took my eye. It said was a chain across the stairway of the old building. It said no admittance beyond this point.
And was that a new thing?
Yeah, very new. It wasn't there the night before. I walked into the drawing office. There were 5 middle management bosses all meeting in the office there. They were all talking low-key. They looked very worried. I've got to find out what's going on. But by 9 o'clock, I had a drawing come in from an outside company. I was expecting this to happen. Sure enough, the phone rang and there was security at this point, and they said, "Are you Hilary?" I said, "Yes." Said, "Right." They said, "Your drawings are right." Good, this gives me an opportunity now to... So I go back to the security hut this time. By now, there's another limo in the car park as well.
And where it said strictly no admittance, would you normally have had access there? Would you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, anyone could go up. Well, they're the boss's offices, but it's upstairs, takes you to other places as well. And they had the top security place there as well. I went up the steps, I could hear them talking. The door was open in the security hut. I could hear one of them say, "Oh, you think I'm doing the bloody graveyard shift? You've got to know it's not coming, mate. They couldn't pay me enough." No. The other one said, "No, nor me." My other little voice said, "No, nor me. No, we're not doing that anymore. No, no, no." And I thought, oh dear, gave me the drawing. Third one came of the limos parked up. I thought, this usually ushers in the whole paint job and shiny floors, everything.
They just suddenly arrived.
Yeah, so I thought, no, something's definitely happened. So what I did, I thought, well, I'm not going to go back that way. I'm going to go up the main steps into the main foyer. I'm going to go through an engineer department. You see, with my job, I work for any engineer in the company if necessary.
So you had access to a lot of areas.
Yeah, so with the drawing under my arm, which is exactly what I wanted. Through the double doors. Supposed to be then in the prototype section, quite a big section, there's benches all along and everything, people working.
And was it the normal amount of staff there then at this time?
There was nothing there.
Oh, nobody there?
Nothing. They cleaned the whole lot out totally and utterly as though it had never existed. And I thought, wow.
What about the staff though?
Nothing.
No staff there?
No. I
Didn't realise that.
I took a chance and nobody looked at me, and I tiptoed down the corridor. I went round the corner. There was strictly no admittance beyond this point. So I thought, oh, that's it then. It's got to be where the top secret place is.
Is that where they kept some top secret files?
Yeah. Well, we didn't have, we did have computers, but with ticker tape stuff. We didn't have anything like you've got today. And things were in drawings and
filing cabinets, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. Whatever happened, it must be pretty bad. So I shot round the edge, what was the prototype place, to the stairs at the back, because we had back stairs as well. I came down to the bottom floor and I walked through like nothing had happened. And then I went down into the drawing office, got on with the work.
At what point then did you become aware of what had happened that night?
About 2 weeks later, we started getting disinformation. Nobody was told anything whatsoever or to where this department had disappeared to, nothing. But we did get there's been an electrical fault. They had to move out to another section, somewhere else.
So were they building prototypes then of weapon developments, that
I
kind
would
of
guess
thing?
that's probably whatever they're doing. Yes, they're doing prototype first. And we thought, well, we've not seen any Sparkies around. We haven't seen absolutely anybody. No vans, no.
Yeah.
Then about 2 or 3 weeks after that, another load of disinformation came round. They said, the roof has got some, structural problems, and they got the builders to come in and put it right. And this is why this department isn't there. Oh yeah, pull the other one. Again, never saw any lorries, any workmen, ladders, absolutely nothing happened. And anyway, we get into, this was April the 4th when it happened, and we're now into early May. I'm going to be leaving shortly because my daughter needed me at home, and I'd had enough of being bullied with male bullying, females doing the same work as them. But I had to be there for this. Then finally the security guards couldn't keep it to themselves any longer. They'd been
they must have been really stressed.
Yes, really stressed. It came round that the security guard on duty that night that did the graveyard shift with his big German shepherd, that they were seeing this funny blue light. Because it's an L-shaped building. Be over here and look out over
Right. So did it look like it was coming from just one location, this blue light?
Yeah, yes, it did. Yes, a top secret area. And could see this thing bobbing about, moving around. So he must have shot down through there and through the, exactly like I did, through the double door, through the prototype section, and then to the top secret office, big office there, which was glass round it, door and everything locked probably, but he was got keys, and he could see something bobbing about in there. So he opened the door and found this. He had the shock of his life because he opened the door and there was a grey with a band with a blue light on the front, and he was rifling through all the top secret stuff, going through everything. And of course, whatever the grey did, which I don't know, nobody does, he went completely off his trolley.
Did he?
They had to take him away to a special hospital. And
The security guard.
yeah, never saw him again. And the dog, well, I suppose the dog got over.
Did you know what documents or anything, or if anything went missing?
Well, it would be all the... No, nobody was allowed to know that. That too was something. But the fact that they knew exactly where it was, knew exactly how to home in. And
I was just going to say, would you know if it was a current project, a live project at the time?
well, very likely.
Yeah.
Very likely. Yes, it would be all things that we were working on. The documentation and everything. And I thought I kept it to myself for 20, 30 years, for a long, long time. And then I thought, no, this needs writing about, because I want to know, really, indirectly, is there anyone else out there? Because there's got to be, working there at the time that knows this story, knows what happened.
Were you required to sign the Official Secrets Act?
Yes, I was. I had to stay on that side of the fence. As far, well, I don't know anymore anyway, to be honest truth. I just know what I saw, and what I saw was not normal.
Yes.
I
mean, you'd think that a grey would be able to just scan it and just know what was there rather than having to take something physically.
I don't know what other people thought, but I thought at last, at least we know the truth now.
And did you believe that?
Yes, I did. But after this, just before I left, it was a nice sunny day, and I was sitting on the bench near the office. I had a sandwich and I had a book, and I thought, well, I'll just relax here for a while. Suddenly, reading away, and suddenly I realised I was underneath the boss's. What he said was, yes, mate, yeah, I know, yeah. And they're talking to each other, hello, Bill, or whatever. But he said, look, he said, if they can get in here with all the security we've got, they can get in anywhere, can't they? Think about it. And I thought, oh, here we go, up with all my stuff, shot away, disappeared into...
So you were never debriefed any other which except for electrical issues and roof needing repairs and...
all that stuff.
The prototype team, so would that have had, 2 or 3 people working on it, or would there have been a lot more?
Whole 4 or 5 people to a big long bench.
Right.
So it was a whole huge...
So a whole lot going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I left.
Did they say anything to you on leaving about anything?
No, I kept absolutely stum.
Did any of your colleagues speak about it?
I never heard anything at all from anyone. We were told years ago when I did speak about UFOs, you can't talk about that. Shh.
Who said you can't?
Well, one of the bosses said,
Oh, I see.
Marconi. The people that work there. They said that you're really not allowed to talk about this kind of thing.
Well, what's that got to do with them, one wonders?
Well, I don't know, but
I just wanted to introduce you to this book, which, as you can see, is called Open Verdict by Tony Collins, who was an executive editor at Computer Weekly in 1990 when this was published. And it's very interesting because it involves the mysterious deaths, some from the 70s and 80s, over a relatively short period of time, and a whole range of people, from project managers to software engineers, and they all died. Some were ruled suicide, quite a lot were open verdict, hence the title of the book, and others are misadventure, etc. But they are peculiar, and it says that at least 25 people, mostly computer programmers, have died mysteriously in Britain's defence industries. Despite the range of projects, their work essentially concerned different facets of the same problem: electronic warfare, the key to the battlefield of the future. The detailed account of these deaths is one of the most enigmatic and disturbing stories to emerge about the defence of the West since the Second World War. And I thought it would be quite interesting just to pick one or two of my tabbed cases at random. So we have Robert Wilson, who's 43, accidental death, and he died of asphyxiation. 22 years old, Gerald Darlow, died by stabbing himself. And then there's another strange case involving Ashad Sharif, died on the 28th of October 1986. He was a software engineer again. This event was ruled a suicide, and he had the ability to tie a rope round a tree, then round his neck, and decapitate himself. And there are just a Stephen Oak, who was 35 years old, again part of GCHQ, and he was found hanged with his hands tied behind his back. Open verdict. If you guys want to read more, you can have a look at that. And I just thought it was interesting because although there are no deaths involved in Hilary Porter's story, it does involve otherworldly intelligences, and you can't tell me that our nation's defence industries, and the globes for that matter, do not know and take quite seriously any incursion into our defences. See what you think, and I hope you enjoy it.
May have been giving me direction, something.
Well, mentioned your ear, your right
Yes.
ear, and the fact that you have an implant, and indeed I've actually felt that
Yeah.
in the ear, and it feels
Yes,
like
it's
a
along
piece
the wall,
of
isn't it?
wire
Yeah,
sticking.
it is. Yeah.
Has there been anything about that has led you to having a life differently than you might have wanted it? Do you see what I mean? Whether it's might have been part of directing you.
I could not see in any way, shape or form how we could move on, and yet somehow things are beginning, even after all these years, to click together. Maybe that's part of it.
In what respect?
Being a counsellor, certain things, or just simply that, like we say sometimes, it's a tracking device, and they just would really like to know where I am most of the time.
Do you get any disturbance from it?
Yes, I do. I get these awful whistles from it and stuff. I better not say it.
You get different frequencies or noises
Yes.
when a craft is...
Yes I do, very much so. And Ken, he's got a thing downstairs, and there was a time when it was a little while ago, and it was whistling away there, and he put this little rod thing against it, and it bleeped.
Really?
Yeah, so it was picking up the actual...
Some frequencies?
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Are you aware of any others?
No,
Such
not
as-
so. I think there may be one in my heel. It's like it doesn't want to be touched, but the rest of the time they just do what they like and then clear off again.
There are times, and it can be years distant, when flashbacks of abductions occur. These take the form of intense information being suddenly revealed, like a download. Hilary experienced such an event, October 1977. In August of 1977, She worked at Mencap and was one of the organisers of the annual games being held at the Aldershot Military Stadium. After finishing off the evening with a social drink with her colleagues, she went home, without any indication that something had happened.
And Omar Fowler came, who was from SIGAP, and he told him about the sighting. He just gives you a form and you fill it.
Yeah.
I thought you'd do another half of it, mate. So, looking through going through all my stuff, I said, well, you can do that if you want, I don't mind. And then he said, oh my God, he said, where did you get that? Oh, he said, that's so important.
Really?
Yeah, he said, it's got to go to America. I said, no, that's not going to America. I'll do you a sketch, you can take that.
Did he explain why he said it was so important?
No, he never let you know anything. He said, well, those tubes, those things underneath are very important. He said, that's a brilliant picture.
So it was at some point during August 1977, when Hilary and her colleagues were finishing the decorations for the forthcoming Mencap Games, that this hexagonal craft had abducted her, and she doesn't know about her colleagues. And this happened at the Aldershot Military Stadium. And she only had these memories coming back as flashbacks in October, some 3 months later, 1977.
There was 31 horses, but when I asked the girls, why don't you keep them in the stable? You know, they'd be far safer, surely. Oh no, they won't, they said. And their answer was, when they hear that thing, they go balmy. And they knock themselves to pieces. Stables, they hurt their legs, their bodies, everything. You know, this is the lesser of the two evils.
So nobody's been to investigate that specifically?
No. Yeah,
Did that stop after?
Got less, gradually got less, but we were hearing of them all around the area, in different places where there are horses.
That was sort of 96-ish, did you say?
Well, we got to 97, 98, 99 a bit, and then papers, very nasty horse mutilation over in some place in Surrey, and then also near the Hog's Back, and the stables. And what have they got? They've got cows walking up and down and out on the Surrey Heath. They've got GPS satellite collars, 2 of them. And they're the leaders, as it were, of the pack. And it does make you wonder. We've seen a lot of UFO activity.
Abductions are continuing to this day, and
yes.
You had one as recently. We're in 22nd of August, aren't we, today, I think?
Yeah, I had one about 2-3 weeks ago.
2-3 weeks ago, so that's probably the beginning of August, probably end of July.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was.
Not to lead or anything, but a lot of people have some kind of precognitive or premonition,
Yes, I do have that occasionally.
a
Yeah.
heightened sense of
Yes,
various
and
things
I do
and
before
abilities.
sighting. It's like I know when there's a sighting. I mean, we had one Tuesday last week. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a repeater witness, definitely. And I said to Ken, get your camera, get it now. And he got it on camera as it came across. And this happens quite often. It's like, and I feel slightly in an altered state as well while it's happening, even though I'm functioning perfectly. Strange feeling. And then I saw something over there. That's Surrey Heath. And I saw, I don't know, like a sort of plasma type thing. It was quite this sort of shape, red and orange.
Yeah.
And I said to Ken, can you get the cameras going behind the big tree over there? And we couldn't see it after that. I'm so used to it, I just sort of...
Yes, it's really an integral part of your life by the sounds of it.
Is.
How often would you estimate that you've been taken? Would you be able to say times per week, times per month?
I should say about half a dozen times or more a year. But then, I say it was a lot more than that in the late 70s and the 80s.
And by how much more would you say?
Loads. Maybe once or twice a week sometimes. And then it would, after about 82, 83, it began to go into months and so on.
And was it always the same kind of craft experience?
I think it was, being that the greys, being on the crow.
Hilary feels that the 30 to the 31st of July into August the 1st, 2016 was possibly her final alien encounter. She had been feeling totally unwell, uncoordinated, and her dyslexia was really peaking. And this is something we forget, that these issues can be really traumatizing for people. She says as she began to awaken, she was having a snooze, but before she even had her eyes fully open, she noticed a column of dimly lit, swirling mist, and within it was this pillar, a vertical round pillar containing 3 alien greys, each about 3.5 foot tall. She'd kept her eyes half shut, perhaps out of fear, but by now she was fully aware of the visitation and tried to yell, but nothing seemed to come out of her mouth. "Oh, just leave me alone and go away," she was trying to shout, but completely unable to verbalize it. And yet, she thinks perhaps they did hear her after all, because they vanished shortly afterwards, and that may be the last she has ever seen of these alien others.
People believe that they lose credibility by even speaking about this
Yeah.
kind of thing, which is so important. The more people who speak about it, the more we learn, the more we understand, the bigger the picture we begin to understand. So folks, keep on speaking. You can contact Hilary, Ken, or myself. And in the meantime, I have to say thank you, Hilary Porter and Ken Parsons, for letting me share some of your Tuesday in September 2020.
You're very welcome.
This is over and out from Joanna Summerscales and the ET Newsroom. Bye.